Hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Welcome if you're currently here in the live premiere. I appreciate it. Today we've got quite an interesting and serious video to cover. This will be analysing the latest footage of Lance Kelly, channel name Earthworm Infotainment, and his strange, disturbing finding within Lucin while searching for Dylan Rounds. Okay? Now, I'm aware some of you would have already seen the footage. If you haven't, feel free to check his actual footage out, video on his channel. Today, I want to be using screenshots, photos to analyse what's present, if there's anything odd that stands out, if there's any links made to Dylan Rounds, or maybe other missing people out there, right? It's to do with clothes and maybe some other bits and bobs within. It's located at an abandoned building, how it was worded by Lance Kelly, okay? So we'll do it like frame by frame, something like that, and see if there's any other strange items that show up, okay? What I do also want to do is check the comment section of my previous video, answer any questions, read if there's any additional information to catch up on that, and just simply respond. I think we'll start with that first to allow more people to join on in to this video, okay? Take in mind, if you haven't already and you need to catch up, make sure to check out my previous video I did on the Dylan Rounds case and the ones before that. I'll provide a link down below in the pinned comments section, okay? The behaviour in recent time has been on good behaviour, so that's all good. And yeah, this could be somewhat of a shorter video, but as by the title and the theme of this video, it is what it is. We want to focus on this latest finding to understand what's actually happened, okay? So let's head on over to the comments of the previous video and then go from there. Right, so here we are. Just arrange it to the newest comments, work our way up. Tom Evans, this should be interesting. In the last few months, very little has been mentioned about Chase Venstra, Bibbins and Robert, who is now in Montello, back. Thanks, Raf. Okay, I think this was like an earlier comment before the video actually premiered. Oh, what I need to say as well, before I forget, as we do go on in this video, make sure to use the chat to share your thoughts, opinions and discussions of what we're going through today. Let me know your thoughts of what you see. Do you notice anything strange? Have you got any questions, etc.? Okay. Tom Evans, yeah, no harm in talking about Chase Venstra when he has gone a bit quiet. Understandably, if he has been cleared and he's not directly a part of the Dylan Rounds case anymore, that's probably why things have quietened off. But there's some unfinished business here and there. There's some strange events or occurrences which may have involved Chase Venstra in the past, somehow tied in the Dylan Rounds case. There's no harm in taking a look at it. Like, even if it just means tying up loose ends with these different people, yeah, sure, maybe they're not involved at the end of the day, but if we can at least tie it up and reinforce it, then it literally ties up a dead end, right? And then that's it. Whereas quite a few things in this case that may be BS or rumours, they've just faded away. So to a new person coming on in, they're probably not going to hear those things. But to someone that's been around for a while and heard about that stuff and it just faded out, it's a mystery, right? And there's no harm in clearing that type of stuff up. As for Tom Evans saying, Robert, who is now back in Montello, can that be reinforced? Is there any additional news about Robert in Montello? Like, wasn't he supposed to be at some place to recover from drug usage, right? Or did that fall through in the end? And what's he doing back in Montello? Has he caused any more trouble, or are things pretty quiet? If anyone knows, share your thoughts down below. Got Cleo there. On screen, we got Chase Venstra's homestead. Just wanted to provide that little link to anyone that was interested. such as Weezer. Hopefully Weezer saw the video and received the link, because there was that talk about items found at Ventress Homestead, which were of that other person that was robbed from. So we can get more into that maybe in a different video, but for today we're focusing on Lance Kelly's recent findings, okay? Cleo, thank you for everything, Warlike Wrath. Caroline Middleton, just watched Earthworm Infotainment's video. After the 2-day wait, I felt it was a letdown. I noticed in comments that Mama Down Under is accusing you of harassment. I think she may have them in a twist. So the way Caroline worded it was mummy with undies. That's a good one, that. And it is kind of ironic that, getting them in a bit of a twist, considering Lance Kelly came across a load of underwear within. So, yeah, I mean, in a way, with the findings by Lance, there could be a couple of jokes made, right, about, oh, whose clothing is this? Is it someone in the chat? Does someone have some dodgy time? Could it be Kurt Wadsworth in drag? Or, I don't know, someone else? But, you know, we keep it somewhat serious today just to try and truly understand what's actually going on, because it could link to Dylan, and if not, it could link to another person or people that have been harmed over time. You never know. But more about that later. So, Mama Down Under is accusing me of a harassment. Well, you know, Mama Down Under was kind of negatively harassing me by constantly whinging and whining. And for Mama Down Under to accuse me of harassment, then she must have been secretly watching my videos, meaning she never left, meaning she can't help but watch my videos. What, because she can't get enough of them? I don't know. But it is what it is. Ricky Hansen. So Ricky is supposedly the guy that went out searching in the past and came across the chop shop, but didn't really go inside because it was a bit too sketchy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember his comment. Did you see Earthworm's video on the Brow Shed? After 9 months, he finally found it. Now, when I was reading this earlier, I had no clue what Ricky was talking about, right? But then it just clicked in my head. And the bit about 9 months it's taken to find it. Some of you may be confused, other people may not, but just be patient for now. This comment will all be explained shortly in this video. So don't go anywhere, it will all be explained, right? Speaking of which, as for Caroline's comment, she thought it was a bit of a letdown. I can understand that, because the way it was worded in the title description, like viewer discretion is advised, disturbing findings, I had to call and contact the police about it, and it's like, oh my God, did you find Dylan? Did you find blood or something really dark and evil? And it turned out to be a bit of loose clothing, right? Yeah, I can understand that deflatedness, but there's still a level of intrigue and mystery behind the stuff, and maybe my analysis of it may help you understand the situation. Okay? Is that about it? What were the comments here? What the hell is this? Let's just check quickly. Tita is cupcake candy. Oh, is this a dodgy account? Congress gave Nellis Air Force Base to sign siege land in Carson, Nevada. Wait, what? Wait, oh no, it's one of these, isn't it? I think this person, oh, well, I don't know who they are really. Are they from the Kenny Beach community? Maybe? Nellis Air Force Base, Kenny Beach. Yeah, so you get some very random comments popping up at times. But that's it for the comments. It was fairly brief, but, you know, let's move on to the main part of this video right now. Right, so here's the first image. You can see the abandoned building in the distance, and appears to be on some kind of dirt road where Lance is stood. bottom right corner of the screen, like a rectangular outline of Google Earth, satellite imagery looking down at the place. As for ground level, when he was panning the camera around at that moment, he documented those track marks which were found on the ground nearby, going across, almost like cutting across. And, you know, when looking at the dirt itself, it does look somewhat moist and wet, kind of damp, hence why it's a bit lumpy, bumpy, and there's track marks left printed in as well, probably because of the weight of the vehicle. From the looks of those track marks, it does seem like an excavator, some kind of digger, has been through this area. I mean, I would say personally, it's not a backhoe or the backhoe, which may have been used in between. Most likely an excavator, because it's consistent, the track marks all the way. As you can see, those ridges. Do people in the chat agree that an excavator made these marks? You can see it on that side as well, the spread of them, even. Any other prints in between? Hard to tell. But is this itself a mystery? Is it strange? My question would be, how long have these track marks been there for? Are they old, recent, newish? Does anyone know? If they are newish, is that because of search and rescue, LE family returning back to the area due to the snow melting away? Is that a possibility? Because when looking at the ground itself and the area, there's not really much snow, is there? Well, there's no snow at all. So have searches already gone underway, returned back to the Dylan Rounds case? Does anyone know? Because, like, it doesn't look that bad. Like, is the ground still hard? There's no snow, so there's no obstruction. But is the ground hard or not? And these track marks, are these track marks before winter time or after winter time, when it started thawing out, easing off a little bit? And who caused it? LE, search and rescue, volunteers, Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds' family? Anyone know? Make sure to leave your thoughts down below. I know mentioned in the last video about, do we need to make a big mystery behind these track marks? At this point in the case, not so much. It clearly shows that there's been levels of activity in the area, most likely machinery used what for? To dig up Dylan Rounds, to try and locate him? Or were these track marks from January time, January 2023, when Lucin Pond was drained and dug up? Was this the excavator that went in that direction? Possibly. And, you know, with winter, with the cold, it can harden the ground, it can preserve things such as track marks, right? So just let me know your thoughts about that. Returning back to this photo, you know, at first glance, you might be really confused as to where are we here in Lucin? What are we actually looking at? First of all, you can see the abandoned structure, some kind of building in the distance, a fair size, looks to be made out of what, hardboard, some kind of wood, chipboard maybe. It's visible, noticeable. Looks like there's no door upon it from this distance. You can see with him. You got like a road that goes up that way, dirt road. That's like man-made. And then to focus on down here, this is like an overlay, is that how you say it? Overlay photo of Google Earth satellite imagery looking down at the spot. And that supposedly is what we're looking at. So that satellite imagery, where that blue marker is that over there. Now there's a difference in colour, but most likely because the satellite imagery is looking down at it, you're looking down at the roof. Maybe the roof of that building is blue, and then that would explain everything. For further explanations and tying in with what Ricky said about, oh, it took you 9 months to find this shed. Here we go. You may be familiar with this area on Google Earth. Don't worry, we will actually load up Google Earth in a second and I can actually show you the location of this shed and the strange clothing found within. So I've got it all under control, and I'll also measure out the distance as well. Arguably, maybe I should have done this at the end of the video, but I thought it's worth introducing everything to begin with. Let me know if I did it appropriately, correctly. If I did it wrong, let me know. But that's what's circled there is basically what Lance Kelly was pointing to with the blue little beacon marker, okay? Let's head on over to Google Earth to show you where it is exactly and how far away it is from Dylan's farm and the grain shed. Here we are on Google Earth. You can tell we're much more zoomed on in. As you see, there's the structure, there's the building. And if it needed to be contested, what I want you to do is make a mental note and remember, you see those piles of wood by the side? Can you see those long pieces of wood or planks of wood nearby to this structure? Just remember that when we go on to the next few slides later on, okay? It'll make more sense. So, we've seen this before in the past. If I zoom on out, look at where we're at. We're in Lucin, of course. The grain shed is here. Dylan's farm is down here. Okay? Just so you get a quick idea. The main talk, what Ricky was referring to, took you 9 months to find the bra shed. Does anyone remember me in the past constantly referring to that location as the bra shed? Does anyone remember that? And some people were like, what the hell are you talking about, Raf? We have looked at this location in the past, right? It was at a time where I guess I was asking people for like key locations to cover in a video. Some said, well, just take another look at the grain shed, take a look at the wash, Dylan's farm, and the bra shed. And at the time, I was like, bra shed? B-R-A. Don't you mean brass shed? And a few other people said brass shed. I guess brass, the material, the item, brass. And then some people were saying bra. And when I said bra shed, people kind of corrected me and said, what the hell are you on about? And at that time, I was like, I don't know. I'm confused as well. And yet, Ricky, in this recent comment referring to this location as the bra shed. Why is that? It just so happens that this is the location Lance Kelly went to and found the clothes inside, which consisted of underwear, bras, and male clothing. Now, the key point is, for Ricky to acknowledge it as if it's 9 months too late, how did Ricky know about this location and what was inside of it 9 months ago? Ricky, if you're there, did you visit this location in the past? Is it anything new, or has it always been there? Not the structure, but more so what was inside of the place. Okay? Personally, aside from Lance Kelly's documentation of this place, I don't think, well, I personally have not seen a single video of this location in real life, boots on ground footage. Not a single video of it looking inside. So Lance Kelly Maybe 9 months too late to the place, but at least he documented it, which is a good thing. But it truly puts into perspective the actual location, a place what we've looked at in the past, unaware. The name of the location, unaware of what it really meant until now. You get me? Hopefully that makes sense to you. And we'll just do a quick distance check from the grain shed, i.e. as if, let's just say, Brenner came down here to visit the shed to dispose of clothing or something, you know. We're tying it in with Dylan Rounds. Dylan's disappearance. Was there any clothes removed off of Dylan? Yes, no. And we just do it about here. It's about 1.66 miles from the grain shed property to the bra shed. Okay, 1.66 miles. Not that far at all. Okay. If you want a quick distance check from here to Dylan's farm, we can do that as well. I just do these distance checks so it puts into perspective and then you can know about it as well, like what we're dealing with and where exactly. So let's just, do we do the shortcut bit from, let's just do the normal road. We might as well be consistent with what we've always done. It's easier. Can we stretch it? Okay, there we go. So from Dylan's farm to the bra shed, it's 6.89 miles, which is longer, but still doable if you've got a vehicle. Okay. Now, before we continue any further, my question is, whether it be Brenner's personal phone, Dylan Round's phone, Don Hately's phone, can anyone highlight or confirm whether any of those phone pings occurred right back at this bra shed on the 28th of May, or maybe the day before, the 27th, or a day or two later, the 29th, the 30th of May? Was there any phone pings down in this area? Does anyone know? And in addition, is there any significance to this location on screen leading up to Dylan's disappearance or after, post-disappearance? Was there any confrontations in this area? Was there any soil disturbance? Has the drone been down here? Have the family gone down to this location? Have the LE, okay? Just because I've not really heard much talked about this spot. So we can get some discussions starting, not only about the content within the place, but the actual geographical location and mapping of it. And is there any significance of events which have occurred in this spot? You know, we've done it with Montello, we've done it with the grain shed, all kinds of events going on and off in those areas. There's no harm in checking a location like this when it's within Lucin and not far from the grain shed, such as Brenner. Did Brenner ever come down here to dispose of anything or whatnot? No harm in asking, checking, right? So, we just do it one more time. The bra shed, the location of where Lance Kelly visited most recently, that abandoned looking building. Zooming on out, not far from the grain shed, which is here, as you can see, and over 6.8 miles from Dylan's farm down here. Okay. Final question. Does anyone know who owns the bra shed? Does anyone actually own it? And when was it built, constructed? Because it doesn't look too old, right, considering. But yeah, I think that's it for the questions for now. Let's return back to the ground footage of the place and take a deeper look within. Here we are back on ground level. The angle of this shot is when Lance Kelly started approaching the building, and not far from it, on ground level, as you see there, appears to be some kind of long sleeve shirt, black in colour. and a little dot right next to it appears to be one singular sock. Where's the other sock? Now, is it strange coming across bits and bobs of items? Not really. From my experience, if I've been out somewhere or if I've been on a walk or something, I've always come across one shoe. There's never a pair of shoes, it's always one shoe or one blue glove, one white glove, right? It's dodgy, it's weird. What happened to the other shoe? Like, is it like someday you'll come across that person who threw it away in the first place and you just see him hopping about on one foot with one shoe on? And it's like, why did you not chuck the other one away? Kind of weird, kind of odd, right? But when you look at the clothing here, the way it is, it looks to me as if it's imprinted in the ground. It looks like it's been squashed down. Do you know what I'm saying? You look at the ground itself, it's a bit bumpy and patchy, but the sleeves, it just looks like it's been squished into the ground, into the mud. And then it's kind of set with time and gone hard. Now, why is that? Who would do that? Who would squash the clothing down? Was it a person standing on it? Or was it some kind of machinery or equipment which drove over it? Does anyone know? But when you look at it, and I think some comments were highlighting it, it looks as if someone was in a rush, but they left the area quickly. Can we make any comparisons to the Kenny Beach case in the Mojave Desert of Nevada, USA? Yeah, we can to an extent. In the Kenny Beach case, there was a random tent which was found near a collection of rocks. Okay, and there was also a concealed bamboo sword hidden underneath a rock. Now, whoever was camping there at the time must have been in a rush to forget their own bamboo sword. You wouldn't leave that behind, right? Unless you were in a bit of a hurry for whatever reason. Now, were you in a hurry because of an animal attack? Maybe. Were you in a hurry because someone was coming after you? Possibly. So those were the theories, right? Never really explained or came to a conclusion. Still ongoing that in the Kenny Beach case. But just like here, we've got footage of items left behind. And it's trying to understand why those items left behind. And whoever left them, is it because they're not wearing any clothes after that? Or was it just loose stuff? Well, we can get more into the closer we get to the location. Now, you remember what I said about making a mental note earlier on, just to reinforce things. Remember when I said, remember those plank of wood that was found near the side of the shed? Well, that's basically what it is, as you can see. So, arguably, it was never finished, the construction. What was it going to be used for? A shed to store farming equipment, horse feeder? You know, does anyone know? That's interesting. You got a few breeze blocks, if you call it that, concrete blocks, just scattered about upon the ground. Maybe loose ones. The only interesting thing is, considering when you look at the whole area, landscape, it's not that snowy, right? At least on ground level, it's not. And yet this one spot, you got a chunk of snow and ice. Maybe it's because it's close to the building and the building keeps it in the shade, so it's not melting away from the light of the sun, right? It's preserved a little bit longer. But, you know, when you look at that there, and people are saying when summertime comes, we can go back out there searching. Well, what about now? Because looking at it from here, it doesn't seem that bad. And actually, I've just remembered one thing we need to talk about very quickly, okay? Remember these dirt tracks? Well, Ellen Berg from Montello said that in recent time, the weather has kind of improved, but because of the snow and ice melting away, it's made things very wet, a little bit of flooding, and it's also made it very muddy. And as we see here, it's very muddy. So maybe, you can put the argument across that these tracks are more recent. Okay, worth taking in mind. And also, if that's the case, with the ground being a little bit wet-ish here, then was that recent as well? Anyway. Yeah, so you can see there, that's the opening. No windows on this side, but round the other side there are windows, okay? And I think when Lance Kelly got here, a bird flew out. That's because there's a nest within, but that's not suspicious at all. Oh, let's move on. So this is getting right into the place. We've kind of jumped to the bit of where Lance is looking at the floorboard, right? Looks a little bit odd when you first go in. The floorboarding looks raised in the front area part. And as you can see here, looks like there's a bump underneath. What's pushing it up, right? I mean, if you looked at it first glance, you could think, oh, has someone tried hiding a body underneath the floorboards? I mean, you think of serial killers, right? Burying people in the cellar, under the foundations of their home. It's happened with time. Is it the case here? Likely not. Okay? And it can be explained, I guess, in a second. That's another shot looking underneath the floorboards. You can see the, I guess, insulation, that type of stuff to insulate the place, keep it somewhat warm, I guess. I'm not an expert on that. When looking underneath, it looks like a combination of that and maybe straw or some kind of hay. It's hard to tell. There appears to be something metal there. And I see a bit of that later on in Lance Kelly's footage. Why is that doing there? It looks like some kind of metal, a chain. But what's it doing there, you know? But it seems to be mainly packed with that stuff. Okay? I mean, there's no true indication of disturbance in, like, the concept of Dylan was buried here, right? Unless you disagree. One point Lance Kelly mentioned himself was, from the looks of it and the angling, an animal may have got underneath and then tried prying its way out, which led to the floorboards being raised. Possibility. Let's just refer to one thing. You think about it, look at underneath there. There's a gap, a fair-sized gap, and it goes all the way around the perimeter of the building. So if an animal, like, crawled underneath it, burrowed under, it could get underneath the floorboard maybe. It scourges through and eventually it pops its head out, and that's what causes the floorboard to raise in a certain area, right? So I guess that is kind of debunked, possibly, right? Okay. Now we move on to some of the clothing. Don't worry, I do have different screenshots of most of the clothing in, you know, the certain positions. I guess what I'll do is just, like, briefly run over the clothing, the type of it, and then come up with a theory, an idea, and then compare to Dylan rounds, okay? So it's a little bit dark here, but I think it was just the time of the day when it was recorded by Lance. You can clearly see the clothing is scattered about. You got some dark clothing, you got some pink clothing, which more than likely is, I guess, female related. There appears to be something there. Is it a stick? It looks like a ruler. Now, I'll be honest with you, when I first saw this thing, I thought, is that like an improvisation of a whip? Were people gathering here to get whipped on the bottom or something? But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. It appears to be the odd hanger, and we'll get more into that later with that point. Then looking here on the far inside, right-hand side, got some more clothing, but is that a dress or is it some kind of bed sheeting? I'm not quite sure. Most of the clothing, although inside of this building, it looks quite dirty and dusty. So that would make you think it's been there for some time and tie in with Ricky saying it's been there for 9 months long. Now, by saying it's been there for 9 months long, it can still possibly apply to the Dylan Rounds case because Dylan has been missing for over 9 months long, okay? So it all is still relevant, right? So you don't have to dismiss too much at this moment in time. But, just let me know if anything odd stands out to you, okay? Just trying to make sense of it. There appears to be like little black things. I don't know if they're droppings, possibly. Looks a little bit dusty, dirty. Some bras as well. Okay. And then that there, it could just be underwear, but because of the colour of it, the first thing that came to my mind was it a face mask? Now, okay, maybe Mr. X wears underwear around his face, or did in the past, but that's irrelevant. I don't know why I thought of that. But is that a face mask, or is it just simply underwear? It's only because of the colour of it. I think it probably is underwear because the straps of it, the elastic part, it looks a bit too long for it to be going around your face, right? You're not going to be wrapping that around you. Well, unless you get a bit excited or something. But yeah, probably not a face mask. If it was, then you could have determined the date of this clothing, 2020 up to present day, because as you know, the virus in the past, right? But it seems to be underwear, so that kind of concludes that at least. But the quality of the wood, right? Pretty good condition, looks reasonable. It's not rotted, but the ground though does look dusty. But you got to understand. Okay, they've got windows. The windows are shut, but you got the gaps underneath the foundations. There's no door on the building. So like with Dylan's trailer and like more so with the grain shed property, that's why there's lots of dust within, because it's just blown into it, right? And if you do have the odd crack or gap, that will happen as well. So yeah, okay. Now this is another shot, different angle by Lance, pointing out more underwear on the left-hand side. And he also said there was a pillow. And yeah, that does look like a pillow. So when you start associating loose clothes, underwear, a pillow inside of a building in a very quiet area known as Lucin, you could start putting it together. Maybe a couple or group, depending, decided to hang out in this area and, fiddle about, twang, wang, and everything in between, right? Is it a surprise? Not really, because I guess it can happen anywhere where it's quiet. If you got campers, hikers visiting, right? And they come across a building like this, they might think, oh, cool, we can just go in there and have fun, possibly. And with clothes being, all over the place, things must have got wild, right? Very wild and dodgy. But why would you leave the clothing behind, right? Are you just going to rip all your clothing off, rip your pants and everything else in between off? Okay, well, except the odd, vital, important parts of the body. You don't want to be ripping them off. That won't be good. It'll be painful. But you get what I'm saying. You're not just going to leave the building afterwards and think, oh, yeah, that was really fun. Oh, let's leave the clothing behind and we'll just randomly walk out with no clothes on. That doesn't quite make sense, does it? So there's that you need to acknowledge. But if there was any other reason, which there is, and we'll get into shortly, why would there be a pillow there anyway? The only reason why a pillow would be there is if you're going to sleep in the place. But where's the sleeping bags? That doesn't seem to exist. And there only seems to be one pillow. And is a couple or more going to be sharing one pillow? I don't know. And this sounds a little bit, dodgy, but you've got to be realistic to an extent. whilst we are looking through some of this clothing, use your eyesight, and if you see any stains or marks, whether it be blood or if it's from, extracted from the other areas of the body which has left a mark on clothing, leave a timestamp, leave a comment down below, because then you get an idea, right? If things were dodgy, it might visually show, aside from the clothing part. If it was more suspicious or darker, then blood would show to an extent. No blood has been seen at this moment in time, from at least what I know of and what Lance has said. I think before we continue anymore, the only, positive to acknowledge is Lance Kelly didn't really touch anything, so that's good in itself. So he didn't disturb much, and he also reported it to the police. Now, what happens next? I don't know. With Ricky saying 9 months too late, was it reported 9 months ago? Yes, no, does anyone know? With Lance, if Lance didn't know about this beforehand and it was never talked about that much publicly, then you can understand why there's a delay and in communication and hearing about something. You've seen it with me and my channel where I've talked about something such as the backhoe, and then Salty Pancakes called me out in a way saying, "Oh, you're returning back to that?" And it's like, well, it's only because I've just heard of it. It's only because I've really catched eyes onto it now with looking at all the other previous stuff, right? Humans have different orders. Not everyone hears about everything at the same time. It takes longer for some. Anyway, move on to the next slide. Got the pillow there. This slide. This is arguably one of the most interesting ones for obvious reasons. The actual long sleeve t-shirt or shirt you see on screen, do you call this a flannel jacket or not? I mean, the pattern, colour tone looks similar to what maybe a farmer would wear, maybe to an extent what Dylan Rounds would wear, okay? We do have images of Dylan Rounds throughout time. I think we should get one of the photos up now just to compare. Here are some photos of Dylan Rounds and the clothing he would normally wear, at least in the past. Granted, with the discussion about the 24th of May, Dylan supposedly going down to Burley, Idaho at Cal Ranch store to possibly buy new clothing, that could have played a part as well when Dylan was wearing new clothing at the time of going missing. I've not forgotten about that, but I'm just using the available material and photos of Dylan Rounds and the clothing he would normally wear, right? A flannel jacket described by people, an Under Armour hoodie on the right, wearing a John Deere baseball cap, similar to what Brenner wore himself, but 2 different caps, the way it's been described with time and cleared up. Now, that jacket, buttoned jacket underneath seems to be a hoodie as well. Now, is the jacket stitched with the hoodie or the 2 separate pieces of clothing? And is that hoodie the same one which you see here, the Under Armour one? I don't know. But just look at that clothing and does it look similar? I know it's a different colour, first of all, but does any of the clothing, what we've seen so far, does any of it look like what Dylan Rounds would wear? Whether it be his normal day-to-day routine clothing or possibly any new clothes he bought the 25th of May in Burley, Idaho. Let me know, okay? There are still more photos to get through, so maybe other things may show up in between, but just keep your eyes peeled for possible clothing of Dylan. Granted, there's a mixture of male and female clothing, so that does bring in a little bit of oddness, bit of confusion maybe to how you interpret this, but if there's other missing people out there, there could be links crossing over with one another, you never know. But is there anything else that stands out here? Well, once again, you've got this metal thing. What the hell is that? Forget about the clothing. Forget about that bra for a second. What is that black object? That black object is what I referred to earlier on in this video. Let me show you. Just remember that black object on screen. Remember that for a second, okay? We go back to the floorboard. This one here, black object with a hook thing. That long blackish object. And it's underneath the floorboard. How did it get there and why is it there? Kind of looks similar to what we see here. Is it some kind of hook? Is it used when constructing the building? A tool, maybe? Anyone knows, leave your comments down below. But yeah, looks dirty. And even this one, what was it covered in? Covered in sawdust, covered in dirt and dust. But it's definitely male clothing. I don't know what size it is, but do you think this is the type of clothing Dylan Rounds would wear? You know, let me know. Move on. Yeah, so this was the other thing I wanted to point out. So that is basically just above that top, okay? And you might wonder, does it really matter? Well, it does to an extent. Just read what it says. Drawstring kitchen bags. A drawstring kitchen bag. What's that? Is that like a trash bag? You know, what colour is it? Is it black, white, a kitchen bag? I'm just thinking of American wording because maybe they word it differently to the UK. But the reason why I wanted to share this with you is because looking back with Brenner doing his spring cleaning June the 2nd and putting items in a bin bag, and then later on in the day or the next day, whenever, Brenner driving off in that vehicle, possibly, with those bin bags of potential evidence from the grain shed now in Brenner's truck. Could Brenner have drove down to the bra shed and, you know, dumped it here, possibly? I don't know, right? I mean, what if, and it sounds a bit weird this, but what if Brenner collected other people's clothes over time, and when the police came down to do with Dylan Rounds, Brenner had to dispose of that other clothing so he wouldn't receive any more charges for unrelated other crimes of some sort. I don't know, like, did Brenner have any obsession with stealing other people's clothing and then using it for all kinds of stuff? I don't know, right? You got to look at overall, right? Every possibility and option. It's just kitchen bags. It reminded me of possible bin bags which may have been used spring cleaning. That's all I'm saying. If you disagree, that's okay. But the bag itself looks like it's ripped. Almost like it's been cut out, the shape of it. Has that been cut out with scissors or something? Weird. But it's very dusty in that corner. Very dusty. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. So I think this is where we can initiate the next theory. Okay? You remember when I was telling you about how when I've been on walks and I've come across odd bits of clothing, one shoe, a white glove, a black one, just dangling about? Well, kind of similar to here, but you notice there are a couple of clothes hangers. Now, if a couple or a group of people were coming into this like shack, the love den, the shack den, whatever you want to call it, why would they have hangers attached to themselves? They wouldn't, right? When do you normally get clothes on a hanger? Either inside of your house in your own wardrobe, hung up, or inside of a shop. Why did they remain on the hangers? Because they've been taken quickly, right? There's a possibility that the clothing here could have been stolen by someone, right? Maybe they went down to Wendover. Maybe they went down to Elko. Maybe some neighbourhood, some home trailer in Montello. And a person or group stole that clothing because they thought they could make money off of it. But they did it in bulk. They did it quick and fast and then ran away, going through into Lucin, finding that abandoned building and using it as a temporary safe house for the clothing, possibly walking on inside, dumping the clothing on the ground, spreading it about and trying to make sense of what's present. Is there anything of value, anything of use? And the stuff what wasn't of use was left behind or dumped. Could I explain to why the likes of that long sleeve shirt and the socks were just scattered about outside aimlessly? Possibly. In the past, I have experienced it myself. Not people stealing my clothes, but then again, the kitty cats could get a little bit, I don't know, steal something down the line. What am I saying? Scrap that line. Forget that. But in the past, when I was on a walk somewhere, noticed down in the ditch where there was a lot of vegetation overgrowing, there was lots of clothes just dumped, spread out on top of each other. No clothes hangers, but lots of clothes. And nearby was a CCTV box, which was also dumped nearby and smashed up. So most likely back then, the person stole clothing from a shop, as well as the CCTV footage, and ran away, got to this point in the woodland and disposed of it, and the clothing of value was kept, and then the rest was just dumped there, possibly. What I saw then is what I'm seeing on screen right now. You get what I'm saying? There are possibilities of either people had fun, or more likely, someone or some people stole clothing from somewhere, right? As for the theme of burglary, it's nothing new. It's happened over and over again. We've seen the likes of Chase Venstra stealing things, Robert Aviles stealing items, to an extent Brenner stealing stuff as well. So, they've all got a bit of a history with that. Am I saying that any of them are involved with this? No, but there's a slight possibility. Anyway, look, you got a black glove there. That black glove, it looks a bit odd. The glove looks really stumpy and short, but thick and chunky. Odd. Got some loose straps, bras or something there. Some dodgy white pants there with a few skid marks on them. What the hell's that? Is that like a latex underwear or something? There's some kind of matrix go on in this place. I don't know. And before people start creating the conspiracies, I know some will come in and say, well, actually, I think this is Warlike Raph's shack. Yeah. He's been doing all his 50 Shades of videos and all his whipping. I wouldn't be surprised if this is where he operates with all this dodgy clothing around. I think maybe the shack lady is involved in it some way. That probably explains why that floorboard is raised, when looking at it. The pole, for pole dancing is rammed right underneath it. And when it's pulled out, all kinds of magic takes place. I don't know what I'm talking about. No, you don't. So, you see what I'm saying? You can make the odd joke about the clothing found here because it is a little bit odd and a little bit dodgy. But there's still every possibility that a crime has taken place, whether it be directly in this room or from further afar, and it's been relocated to this location. Is there any possibility that if people have been trafficked, human trafficking, kidnapping, is that why clothing is found here of different genders? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, fam. They appear to be some underpants and loose socks once again. Those socks, it looks like they've been... Do you know... how do you describe it? Do you know when you've got one sock and then you get another sock and you stuff it you stuff the sock into the other sock. So it's like one put into the other. That's how it looks like it's here. Now, when you get socks from a shop, socks tend to be either like tied together or stuffed into one another maybe. So that could explain whether they're directly from the shop, stolen or not, you know. Some paper on the floor, can't quite read it unfortunately. Another black sock there. Some kind of beige coat or trousers. Looks like there's a button on it. Cardboard box as well. That cardboard box kind of looks like the type of cardboard box that was found at near Chase Spencer's homestead by Salty Pancakes and Kurt Wadsworth, which was buried in the ground. Seems to be some shiny thing on the ground there. I don't know if it's glass or not, plastic. Let's move on to the next image. That's like looking at the same spot, just at a slightly different angle. You see a few more pants. I mean, it's a bit dodgy, but let me know if any of the clothing could be of, you know, kind of like a younger age, just in case there's anything dodgy going on there. I mean, in the past, I don't know, it's becoming a bit of a running joke now, but it is based off real experience. Because if you want, oh wow, do I show it? I don't know. Do I need to in this video? I'm not quite sure. I think I might. Let's just see what the video quality is. Oh, I don't know, because I might have to cut it down. But basically, cutting it short, in the past, on a different walk, going through some kind of forest, and I came across some underpants dangling on a tree. Then fast forward another time, found more pants found on the floor in the same area, and it was of a certain age, you know. Might not be anything, but it was a little bit dodgy how there was two lots found over a period of years or something, and in the same spot, and there was like flowers on a tree, so it was like, did someone die or something? It was just a weird area, okay? So like, all kinds of things you can stumble across, right? Get off. There we go. There we go, we've got some more clothing here. More female clothing, I think. Burgundy. Wait, oh no. Bella V? Bella V, is that your robe? Your burgundy robe? Oh my god, Ellen Berg, get your arse over there and retrieve it. Poor Bella V, she's got nothing left now. Shame. Anyway. Is that a bra or some kind of underwear? I mean, you'll hear me questioning a lot, but, you know, I'm not exactly an expert when it comes to female clothing, right? There's a black bra there, and, you know, people are going to start saying, oh, try and guess, what's the bra size? Is it a 34B or a 44DD? I don't know, okay? More clothing there, stuffed in the corner. Now, what's this? Seems to be two lots of them, and there's like something attached to it. Was this some kind of satellite, aerial, some kind of dish? Were they trying to set something up here? I don't know. It's hard to tell. A satellite dish. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. Seems to be two lots of them. Maybe the project was never finished. Looks like it, then. Cardboard box there in the corner. Some blue clothing there. I mean, it's probably not the case, but you remember, you know, that bluish clothing, or at least the colour of it reminds me of what Brenner was wearing in that photo. It doesn't mean it's of the same thing. More hangers once again. So it's been taken from somewhere, from a wardrobe or a clothing store. I wonder if there's been any crimes reported over the last 9 months, or 9 months earlier. Just make you think. And then a bit further up, another cardboard box. It's when I see that, those two metal things, that looks like a DVD or disc drawer from a computer. Some kind of hard drive, something, some kind of drive, that metal stuff. And you remember earlier when I said about CCTV footage being taken away, the actual box recorder, and smashed? Has that happened here? because it looks like some kind of electronics, and especially that, with it being circular on that metal tray, it looks like where a disc would go of some sort. Does anyone agree? Appears to be some dodgy gloves or some more clothing. There seems to be a pen as well there. Looks like a pen or some kind of needle. Not quite sure. Not much seems to be in that cardboard box though. Oh, I should stop doing that. And then, kind of like in the same spot, looking down at the ground, you got some blue thing there. Is that a blue wrapper? Is that some form of protection? I don't know. What's this? A blue pen? And then what's that? Some kind of glue? Bit of a tube shape to it. Very dusty and dirty. More clothing there from the looks of it. But it doesn't look very appealing to be wearing. And what's that there? A yellow vibrator. A yellow highlighter pen. And what the hell's that? Is that a vibrator? What's that doing there? I mean, you got that black thing where it's like the knob of it, and it's like oval shaped, I guess, for certain reasons or purposes. And then you got a big, thick, chunky shaft at the bottom. So I guess you grab hold of or something. But then what's that thing at the bottom of it? The base. That looks like a propeller. Is this a torpedo or something? A missile? I really don't know. It's hard to tell. A hairbrush? No. A roller? No. Let me know your thoughts, Fem. I mean, some of the items could be when they were constructing the building, which they never truly finished, possibly. More paper there. I mean, I don't know what that paper is. If it's a leaflet, a letter, an address to somewhere, I don't know. As well, there's a little bit of redness. Can you see that? Colour red. Like a trace of it. I'm not quite sure why. Yeah, this was interesting though. You see that black hoodie? Quite clearly you can see it's a hoodie. There's a hood there. So it looks like it's a male one. Focus on that image. Aside from the missing badge, which may be covered up, it's hard to tell. That looks similar to what Dylan Rounds wore in kind of like that photo there. It's a black hoodie. And if not that, this one. You see that hoodie underneath his jacket with the hood? It does look kind of similar to that there. Interesting, right? I want to know your thoughts. We'll do a poll. Do it like a vague one. Do any of you feel that any of the clothing presented in these screenshots belong to Dylan Rounds? Yes, no. A third option can be no, but belongs to another missing person. And then the fourth option can be there's another reason behind it. Kind of like the ones I've already stated in this video as theories. Okay? Right, so we've reached the end there because after that, Lance Kelly just walked about and left the place. It looked like it was dark as well. Though he did notice there was another bra, a bright pink bra on the ground. Now, just as an observation, most of the bras look kind of like the same size. I mean, it's weird talking about this. Like, I never thought I'd get to a point where I'm talking about bras and bra sizes in a video of mine. Like, weird. But it's just weird. The bras, the cup, you call it that? You call it the cup? The two cups? They all seem to be kind of big. I don't know. I don't know where this is leading. Oh no. But, it's trying to understand if all the clothing is of similar sizes or some of it is, it could belong to just one person, right? You never know. Like, if all these bras are of the same size, the same cup, it could be of one person. So maybe one person was burgled by someone, right? Maybe it applies to the male clothing too. But it is just odd in general, right? If you take away the clothes hangers, you could put the possible point across that it was a group of younger people hiking, camping out, messing about and all of that. But you put the hangers in, feels like they've been stolen from somewhere. When outside and Lance was walking about, he did stumble across a patch of bones. Now, when I saw that, I thought, damn, that's a lot of bones. But if it's just from one animal and it's been spread about, I guess it makes sense. Now, Lance referred to it as possibly it was a cow, the remains of a cow. Now, why would a cow just die? Natural causes, age, injury, wildlife? I don't know, but most likely wildlife that took care of it after it died. Though the bones weren't spread out too much. You know what I'm saying? Do you like how we talked about Dylan and even Kenny Veach in the past, how if there's remains of someone, it might be hard to locate if the bones have been scattered. If animals have come along, picked one up, ran off, and then another animal has come along too. And yet these bones here, all in one spot. Well, possibly some are missing because there's not a huge amount, I guess. And then, look at that. That's a pretty big bone. Of course, not human, but pretty big bone. Wow. Was there any more images? No, that's it for the, I guess, analysis of this place. So yeah, kind of odd, right? I mean, if it's a well-known place and it's been documented in the past, has it been reported to the police back then? I don't know, because I've never really heard it talked about much by Candice Cooley, Justin. They've not seemed to mention it. Ty Corbin, has he referred to it? I can't remember, to be honest. Shack Lady, can't remember. But what I would say is, well, I guess it depends what update Lance Kelly gives next, because he might say, oh, I reported it to the police and this is what they said, right? It's just, the way I see it, okay, if it's from 9 months ago and it literally dated around when Dylan went missing, from then till now, with the presence of search and rescue, police, family, etc., surely someone would have come across it. Put aside those odd hikers here and there from YouTube. The official people, the authority, surely one of them or a group would have come past this building and checked inside, right? Because it's not that far away from the place. If Candice Cooley has said they've checked the area all over, right? They've been trying the best all this time and still not found Dylan. I'm sure they would have seen that building and thought, oh, let's take a look inside and notice the clothing. Now, if that was the case, would the police have taken that clothing away? Does anyone agree? If you think about it, when Brenner's burnt down trailer was eventually investigated by, was it Elko County? Box Elder County? And they went down there, it looks like they may have taken the odd thing away because it did look like it was cleared up to an extent and some of the gas canisters as well were stood up as well. So they might have taken the odd thing away, possibly, just to check for DNA. So if the police went to a location such as what we've seen today, would they have thought clothing? Maybe we need to take it away to test for DNA if there's any fingerprints on them. Or were the police just lazy? Think, oh, it's of zero significance to Dylan, it doesn't matter. What's your thoughts on the matter, right? And we don't just stop there, because I do want to refer back to one thing at least when it comes to clothing, right? Okay, Brenner's clothing has been retrieved, which had blood on, which is obviously one of the most vital, critical parts in the case, along with that video recording of him. But is there any clothing from Dylan missing? Any clothing from any other possible suspects, let's say, that's missing? I don't know. I've heard people refer to Ty and Lance coming across clothing in the past, but I don't know exactly what that was about or where exactly. I did notice a little bit of material, and it sounds a bit silly because when I say a little bit of material, I literally mean a little scrap of it. But let me just share with you a screenshot and it might make more sense. What you're seeing on screen is the location in Montello, Nevada, near to Brenner's burnt down trailer back in 2021, I believe, when it occurred. Well, this footage is a bit more up to date in 2022 when Lance, Kelly and Kimber went down to take a look. And, you know, it looks like there's an ash pit. I don't know what was actually burnt there. You got the green bucket nearby. You got some like wiring, fencing, covering the ash pile. Fair size to it. The only question I had about this, and I don't know if anyone's answered it, is, okay, you've got Brenner's trailer which set on fire and I guess exploded, but with this being a little bit away from the trailer, it looks like an individual fire. So when did that individual fire take place? And what was actually burnt? That's what I want to know. Now, just behind it, where you see that bushy stuff, that vegetation, this was found. Kind of caught within the stuff, a scrap of clothing, material, fabric, crisscross, striped, patterned. Bit random. Just a remnant. Where is the rest? Maybe taken away or burnt within that fire, possibly. It's just that in the past it wasn't really cleared up, it just kind of faded away, that little discussion. So I just wanted to bring it back into light, and I felt it was quite fitting considering this whole talk of clothing found there. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think this is clothing at Brenner's burnt down trailer, or is it just something else? Has it got anything to do with Dylan's clothing, or maybe another missing person? Let me know your thoughts. I think what we'll do now, just briefly, remember when I told you about that story of the woodland and coming across that random bit of clothing? Well, I still have the video recording. I can play it to you right now. So it's still mysterious, to do with the clothing theme from my point of view, my perspective. And it's a bit of nature as well, so enjoy it. I'll play it now and then we'll come to a conclusion after. Okay, so once again, came across yet something odd once again. Don't know why you'd come across it for somewhere like here, because this ain't no hike as you'd see in the desert like with Scott Natal. Came across that. I think it's obvious what it could be. Try and give it a prod. What's it doing here? And whose is it? Come on. They're very fiddly. Come on. Oh, there we go. So what are these doing here? I have no clue. Is there any way to... Yeah, this is Warlight Raff. What are you doing? I don't even know what it is. Is it a bit of cloth? I don't know about the material. It's questionable. Oh. Yeah, I think it is what it is. Oh god, yeah it is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they're pretty small, so I think that hints towards you know what. So, whose are they? And where are they? Ah, it landed on me then. Yeah, so that's kind of weird that. You know, the weirdest thing is, saw something like that in the past, but they were black and they were over that way and they were hung on a tree or something, I think. Can't remember. That's weird, that, especially the size of them, you know what I'm saying? Like, why would they be there? I mean, like, in the desert with Scott Natal, he ended up coming across a pair, obviously adult ones, and that might have been used in the desert as a desperate attempt because it was hot or something, or they needed to use it for other means. I don't know. I don't know what and why you'd need that or put that there. And it was right there. You can see the patch. Is there anything else? Doesn't look like it. Well, if we come across anything else, I'll do a video that can go over there. Just a bit further down now, as you can see up there, where there's a fence. You might not be able to quite see. It's behind the trees. It's all collapsed there because of the trees have fallen down, and that's because of the storms back in February. And it's around this area somewhere. I think it might be further on up here, round about here or so, where the other pants were found in the past, same size and everything. So that was kind of weird. And the only other thing I picked up on, as you can see, this log that goes all the way across, and then this branch as well. I put that there last time when messing around, and that was like 3-4 years ago, and it's not been moved since whatsoever. It's not been touched or anything. So that's kind of weird, because obviously people would have been here, because normally when you put something there it ends up being moved or something, but this hasn't. That's kind of weird. I don't know if there's anything else. Have a quick look. Is there anything over here? Doesn't look like it. Anything over this way? Nope. I mean, the only other thing was, when I was here last time, is on one of the trees over that way, there was like writing on the tree, and it said ha ha ha. So that was kind of weird, but I couldn't find that, relocate it this time. So we'll see if we come across anything else. Okay, excuse the bad hair. So on the way back, coming back where those pants were over there, and I was just looking this way because you wouldn't have seen it coming the other way. There's like flowers or plants on the tree. Let me show you. Can you see it? That. And someone obviously would have put them there to reach that high up and to hook them on so they wouldn't fall off. Can you see? I think the daffodils are hooked on. Now, I'm not too sure if this is the area where those pants were, the other ones like years ago were. Is this some kind of memorial or something? Some kind of murder? It seems a bit weird putting plants there. Why would you? Normally you would if someone died. Did someone die where I'm stood? What are those pants doing over that way as well? I mean, they kind of look old. It's a bit weird around here. I best get moving back the way I came and see if I come across anything else. But yeah, those plants there have been put there by someone, maybe kind of recent too, since they're growing around on the ground, and they are nearby further up that way. I've got a picture of one growing. So someone must have taken them, come all the way down here and then placed them there. That's weird, that. Let's keep moving now. Okay, so on the way back now, you can just see over me, that's where those flowers are, and just up that way, 40 metres, is where the plant was on the tree, and just behind me is where the pants were. And then suddenly there was some person that walked past, so I had to try and, you know, stand to the side, and they came all the way down here, and then they stopped in front of me, which you can't see, and then they bent over, must have been tying the shoe or something, and they just stopped. And then suddenly they turn back round and come walking towards me and then go back that way, the way they came. That's weird. What is going on today? I mean, is anyone behind me right now? I can't see because the screen's too dark, but is someone watching me? I don't know. It's weird going on. I'm going to keep on walking and we'll see if anything else shows or if anyone else turns up. This is a bit weird now. Okay, so still walking back the way I came after all this way. And you know, you got all these trees near to that fence. Been a bit of damage, but it's this one that's kind of weird because if we just look at it, can you see that? It looks like slash marks. Got one there. It's not too deep, but there's quite a few of them. And it's kind of weird. Hopefully that shows up on camera. All the way. And this is what I was saying. On one of the trees around this area in the past, it looked like someone writ ha ha ha, like someone was laughing. And it kind of looked like that. Now really the only story I can tell with this area is basically once in the past when I was round here, and it was over that way where the pants were, and there's some guy just cutting through. He had like shorts on. He looked like a bit like a lumberjack. Don't quite fit into the area because this ain't the USA, but yeah, he was walking back that way. I came, he walked past, and in his backpack he had an axe sticking out. I don't know why you would need an axe in this area, because yes, it's kind of a woodland, but it's not full on, as you can see, because it's all open over there. So could he have caused that mark? Did he cause it? Or is it somebody else? Is there an axe welding man lurking in this forest or something? Taking people out, kidnapping people and doing whatever. You've got bits of clothing of a certain age. You've got plants as if it's a memorial. You had the odd person walking up and down, which was a bit weird, near to me beforehand. Don't know what they were doing. And obviously that guy in the past with the axe and the trees with the weird markings on. So what is going on in this area? And as well, it's like in the past, when coming down here, when you come back the way you came, it always feels a little bit weird. Don't know why. Maybe the timing, or it gets a bit darker, or it just feels a bit weird. So let me know your thoughts of that footage from my point of view. Did that appear dodgy, weird? You see a singular piece, it may have been dumped, it might have been forgotten about, people have been passing through like a family, but for it to happen more than one time over a spread, but not too consistent either, in a similar spot and where flowers were found, you start tying one thing to another, and it's just a little bit odd in a way. And it is quiet, the area, kind of like Lucin, so you're not going to have too many visitors if anything does happen there. But what I would say, at the end of the day, what is ultimately more suspicious? Finding a spot full of clothing, like multiple pairs of bras or pants or tops, that, or coming across like some clothing, one top, one bra, one pants, pair of shoes, and that's it. I'd say less clothing is more suspicious than mass clothing. Mass clothing you could either associate with burglary or shoplifting, or a group of people getting together and having a bit of dodgy time. You find a singular piece of clothing, or just clothing that is of one person, then it's odd, right? Because it's like, that's the only clothing they had, so why did they leave it behind? Maybe if they didn't have a choice, they were forced to. Maybe there was no longer a need to wear that clothing. Why would that be the case? Maybe because they're not alive anymore. So, when you're thinking of Dylan Rounds, a singular missing male in the area, okay, there might be other missing people. I haven't completely ignored that, but at least reported in the news, and all the focus is on Dylan and only Dylan. As for that other Dead body found by Heavy D. That was very quiet and shush. Like, why? Why the secrecy? I don't get it. Why couldn't it have been mentioned in the news? Like how they do with other stuff. That's a bit odd, right? With knowing or just being under the understanding that Dylan Rounds is missing and you find female clothing, you're not going to think, oh, well, that directly links to Dylan. No. You could, though, associate the clothing found in that bra shed in Lucin, maybe at Kurt Wadsworth's. Is it Kurt Wadsworth's spare clothing? Kurt Wadsworth's female drag costume or something? I don't know. You know, I know you can like piss about and say, oh, it's someone's in the chats. Oh my God, Wanda. Wanda, what are you doing leaving all those clothing about? My God. But on a realistic note, Kurt Wadsworth, the things he's been associated with, and then this clothing found, you never know. But with it being multiple pieces of clothing, right, and the hangers, it just seems like it's stolen. If you talked about trafficking, I don't know why you'd get clothes hangers involved as well. Now, just makes me wonder, just at least, whilst that abandoned building is where it's at, has a drone been used in the area, or even canine dogs? You know, has there been any soil disturbance around the structure or underneath the building? I guess with like the floorboard being pried upwards. I don't know. But maybe time will tell with Lance Kelly reporting it to the police, unless people have done in the past and it came to a dead end, though it would have been of use if it was talked about publicly and at least debunked in the past, which, at least to me, I never heard of. So if anyone does have updates or some kind of debunking of the location, feel free to list it down below in the comment section, okay? And we'll check it out later. I think we'll leave it there for now. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. You were able to learn something new. I don't know. Maybe you've been inspired to buy some new clothing line, Lucin, down and dirty bras. I don't know. Maybe you got a new list on your Christmas list or something, but we'll leave it there, okay? Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye and good night for now.